Imagine waking up in the middle of the night aboard the most famous ship in history. The air is freezing. The floor beneath your feet feels different. People are whispering in the hallways. Some are confused. Some are afraid. And some still believe everything is fine. You step outside and see something impossible. The largest and most luxurious ship ever built is slowly dying. Within hours, more than 1,500 people will lose their lives. Families will be separated forever. Dreams that took years to build will disappear beneath the Atlantic Ocean. But Titanic is not just the story of a ship. It is the story of real people. Rich and poor. Mothers and fathers. Children and grandparents. People who boarded with hope in their hearts, and no idea what awaited them in the darkness ahead. Tonight, we tell their story. April 1912. The world was changing rapidly. Technology was advancing. Cities were growing. Many believed humanity had entered a new age of progress. Nothing represented that confidence more than Titanic. The ship was enormous. A floating city crossing the Atlantic Ocean. People traveled from around the world just to see it. Newspapers praised it as a masterpiece of engineering. Many believed it was practically unsinkable. But the true story of Titanic was never just about steel and machinery. It was about the people on board. More than 2,200 passengers and crew, each carrying their own hopes, fears, and dreams. For first-class passengers, Titanic offered a level of luxury almost unimaginable at the time. The grand staircase sparkled beneath elegant lights. Dining rooms served extraordinary meals. Private suites rivaled the finest hotels in Europe. Some of the wealthiest people in the world walked these halls. Businessmen, industrialists, social elites, people accustomed to comfort and privilege. For them, Titanic was a symbol of status, a floating palace on the sea. But far below the upper decks lived another group of passengers, the third class. These travelers were not crossing the ocean for luxury. They were crossing for opportunity. Many came from Ireland, Italy, Scandinavia, and Eastern Europe. Some had spent their entire savings on a ticket. Others had borrowed money from relatives. Most shared a single dream. America. A place where they believed a better life was possible. One father stood on the deck with his young daughter. He pointed toward the horizon. "That's where our future is," he told her. She smiled. He smiled too. But deep inside, he worried. Everything he owned had been invested in this journey. Failure was not an option. Every day aboard Titanic felt filled with possibility. Children played. Families shared meals. Musicians entertained passengers. The giant ship moved steadily toward New York. For a brief moment, the future seemed bright for everyone aboard. Although everyone traveled on the same ship, they lived in very different worlds. First-class passengers enjoyed luxury beyond imagination. Their rooms were spacious. Their meals were elegant. Their days were filled with comfort. Many spent their time discussing business, politics, and investments. Third-class passengers lived more simply. Their cabins were smaller. Their meals were modest. Yet many were happier than they had been in years. They danced. They sang. They celebrated the possibility of a new beginning. To them, America represented freedom and opportunity. The contrast between these two worlds was striking. On one deck, wealth. On another, hope. Both groups shared the same ocean, the same ship, and soon the same danger. April 14, 1912. The final evening of Titanic's voyage. The Atlantic Ocean was unusually calm. The sea looked like black glass. Above, thousands of stars illuminated the sky. Passengers admired the beauty of the night. Few realized danger was waiting ahead. Just before midnight, lookouts spotted something directly in Titanic's path. An iceberg. Massive. Silent. Deadly. The warning bell rang. The bridge responded immediately. The ship began turning. But Titanic was simply too large. Moments later, ice scraped against steel. The collision did not feel dramatic. Many passengers barely noticed. Some thought the ship had simply stopped. Others returned to sleep. Yet below the waterline, disaster had already begun. Engineers quickly inspected the damage. What they discovered was devastating. Several compartments were flooding. The ship's safety systems could not handle this level of damage. Titanic was doomed. The largest ship in the world would sink. And it would sink that very night. Captain Smith now faced an impossible challenge. More than 2,200 people were on board. But there were not enough lifeboats for everyone. Even under perfect conditions, many people would be left behind. Time was running out. Crew members began waking passengers. Most could not believe what they were hearing. Some laughed. Others refused to leave their warm cabins. The idea that Titanic could sink seemed absurd. Yet the ocean continued pouring into the ship. Minute by minute. Deck by deck. As lifeboats were prepared, confusion spread throughout the ship. Many passengers did not understand the danger. Some boats left half empty because people refused to board. They believed the ship itself was safer. Meanwhile, third-class passengers struggled to find their way to the upper decks. Many were unfamiliar with the ship's layout. Language barriers created additional confusion. Families became separated. Parents searched for children. Children searched for parents. Every minute mattered. The difference between wealth and poverty became painfully visible. Passengers closer to the boat deck often learned about the situation sooner. Others received information much later. In a disaster where every second mattered, that difference could mean survival. Yet despite the chaos, extraordinary acts of courage appeared everywhere. Crew members guided frightened passengers. Mothers placed children into lifeboats. Husbands kissed their wives goodbye. Friends embraced one last time. Some knew they would never see each other again. As the situation worsened, many people chose bravery over fear. Crew members continued working despite knowing their chances of survival were slim. Engineers remained below deck, helping keep electricity running. Their efforts allowed more passengers to escape. Many would never leave the ship alive. Musicians continued performing. Their music helped calm terrified passengers. While panic threatened to spread, melodies drifted through the freezing night air. It was a remarkable display of courage. Across the ship, ordinary people made extraordinary sacrifices. Some gave away seats in lifeboats. Others stayed behind so family members could survive. These stories became part of Titanic's enduring legacy. Shortly after 2 a.m., Titanic's fate was sealed. The bows sank deeper into the ocean. The angle of the ship became steeper. Passengers struggled to maintain their footing. Panic spread. People ran. Others prayed. Many simply stood in silence. Then the lights began flickering. For a moment, the giant ship seemed frozen in time. A city of steel suspended between life and death. Minutes later, the lights went out. Darkness swallowed the ship. The Atlantic Ocean rushed forward. And Titanic disappeared beneath the surface. The silence lasted only seconds. Then came the cries for help. Hundreds of people were now in water so cold that survival was measured in minutes. The night became a desperate fight against nature itself. Those in lifeboats watched in horror. The ship was gone. Only darkness remained. And the voices of people struggling in the freezing ocean. Hours later, rescue finally arrived. The surviving lifeboats were collected. Exhausted passengers were brought aboard safely. Some searched desperately for loved ones. Others already knew the truth. Their families were gone. When the final count was completed, more than 1,500 people had died. Entire families disappeared. Dreams vanished. Lives ended far from home. More than a century has passed since Titanic sank. Yet its story continues to captivate the world. Not because it was the largest ship. Not because it was considered unsinkable. But because of the people. The rich and the poor. The brave and the frightened. The survivors and those who never returned. Titanic reminds us that behind every historical tragedy are real human lives. People with dreams. People with families. People with futures they never got the chance to see. And that is why, more than 100 years later, the story of Titanic still refuses to be forgotten.